Cheers, and welcome to our table talk discussion on the Voluntary Virtues Network. I'm your host, Steve, and I'm here with Mike and Matt, and we're discussing You're Just 17 Beliefs Away from True Freedom.
Part 3, right? Is that what we're on now?
Part 3.
Part 3.
So, we're on to number 7. But first, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Yes.
This is a brand new cider. I've never tried this before. It's by Angry Orchard. It's elderflower. I don't know, I kind of felt that it was kind of bland compared to their other ciders. What do you think?
I'd say the same. I'm usually a fan of stronger drinks, but it's not bad. I am glad that they changed from twist-offs to bottle caps.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair.
I've gotten twist-offs that were not very carbonated.
Yeah, much crisper.
Yeah, it tastes better with the bottle cap.
It does. It just seals better because otherwise the machine's doing it like that. And the twist-on thing. And when I used to work in a facility, similar mechanism, it screws up every time. Not every time, obviously, but like the ratio to like how many it actually gets onto, how many gets mixed up is like 1 out of 100 gets put on there wrong. So yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I really like their... It's an apple cider, by the way. I really like their apple ginger cider. But I wasn't real impressed with this one. I mean, it's good for a drink, but not real impressed.
Agreed. A little bland. Well, but, you know, it's not Mickey's or Old English, so, you know.
Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm, oh, man. Too much sugar, too little alcohol.
To be honest, it reminds me of a drink called a Sidewalk Slammer. Where you take a Mickey's,
okay.
You drink 12 ounces, you pour Sparks in there, and it tastes like this. It gets you messed up, though, I'll tell you.
Sparks, yeah, I did. Yeah, I had way back when I had a 6-pack of those.
Oh.
All in one night. That was a bad scene. Yeah,
Dude, I remember we got a whole case one time. Oh, man.
It was a hell of a hangover. I woke up with with a painful liver. Like my liver was actually in pain. Yeah.
What was that drink that guy was drinking when he came up to our meeting that one time?
Juice.
Yes, juice.
Oh, yes.
Juice. He was fucked up that night.
Who was it? I don't even remember.
He ran into a wall.
Oh, I missed that one. I remember hearing about that later because that's how the running gag got started about not running into John's wall. Yeah,
yes.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Ran into it twice, actually.
Just then make sure it was there.
Then nearly off a cliff.
Yes.
And that is a cliff.
Moving on.
Anyway, so, number 7. Freedom is not free. It would be nice if it were, but there are people willing to coerce. Making some freedom for yourself requires purposeful action. You must know what you want to be free to do, and you must organize your resources towards the end of creating that freedom for yourself. Freedom isn't free.
Costs $1.05.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it would be... I don't want to use the word crass, because I don't think that fits right, but it would be a little bit arrogant to say that one individual could be as free as they want to be in every single aspect of their life within their lifetime and be able to achieve it solely by themselves. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so you have to work towards it and work with other people in order to achieve your goals. And so you have to think about, like, what is your most important priority? Do I want to be more freer with what goes on with my money? Where can I put my money? Can I take my money out of the bank and put it back in without having to, like, show my ID 3 different times and put in my social security number? Or am I more worried about being able to travel without being harassed for, like, a little sticker on the back of my car? What is your priority?
Well, I think like we discussed in the beginning, it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that I was trying to get at that. I think something like that. It was
So I think it says something about the end in there, what you actually like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, towards the end. I think everybody knows the cliche. Freedom isn't free. America, fuck yeah.
You just kind of think it was like a
go army, idea.
A state is sort of a mantra.
That's not what it's saying here.
Yeah, exactly.
What this is saying here is that you're not just gonna go around the world. You're just not gonna be free one day because you feel like being free.
Yeah.
It takes purposeful action. It takes work. It takes planning. It takes setting goals and working towards them.
It does.
That kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think that's all it's saying here.
pretty much in a nutshell.
That sounds accurate to me.
And I would agree with that.
Number 8.
Number 8. Your desire for freedom does not imply an effective ability to choose between 100% or 0% freedom. Your effective range of choice, i.e., what you can get, depends on your desired actions, your resources, and how you use them. That seems pretty self-explanatory to me.
Yeah, I kind of think it's a reiteration of the statement above. You know, it's kind
A lot of them seem to be
really similar,
repetitive.
Yeah.
It seems like. This one has a little bit different connotation, I think. Even if, suppose in the future we had a free society, government gone, people cooperated together generally to meet for mutual benefit.
And hopefully our hair isn't all too gray at that time. This is what I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, I'll actually be able to do stuff without like having to have a cane.
Well, let's say 100 years in the future. This is a well-established
Fair enough.
society now at this point.
Yeah.
You still don't have 100% freedom. You're still gonna have criminals.
Yeah, of course.
And every time somebody robs somebody else, they are
infringing on their freedom.
Yeah, limiting their freedom. Every time somebody assaults somebody else, every time somebody,
But every time you make a choice that is what you want, then you gain more freedom, right?
Yeah.
What you want. Every time you make a choice in what you want.
Without coercion. Yeah, that's
right.
The main thing behind freedom is without coercion.
Yeah, that's a
so
really
obviously, you can't effectively choose between 100% and 0%. Even the average individual who's going about their lives law-abiding, which is a farce anyway, but
because it's completely impossible to follow every single law all the time accurately. Yeah.
But the average person who has no idea what's actually going on, they still don't have 0% freedom.
Yeah.
They still have some measure of freedom. It's kind of the difference, I think, between a slave and a citizen. A citizen is kind of a free range slave, so to speak.
So if we're gonna define that, are we gonna say that like a slave may have 10% freedom and a citizen has 50%?
I think it'd be pretty hard to get to 0.
Yeah.
You'd have to be like an automation, completely getting every order from somebody.
Yeah.
I think it could be possible. Would be extremely difficult though.
Yeah. I think we're kind of going on a tangent though. I think we really kind of get the idea of this point.
Yeah. We can move on.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So number 9.
We are free to move on.
You will not suddenly become 100% free. You will have to do it yourself, one carefully planned step at a time. Again, we've just discussed that. We completely agree, understand. If you're going to have freedom, you're going to have to make decisions, you're going to have to choose a free path versus the path of a citizen slave. You're not going to be 100% free, but to get to a noticeable amount of freedom, you're going to have to take steps, you're going to have to plan carefully and meet goals and work towards a specific end.
Rubbing your lucky rabbit's foot will not make you free. You actually have
Dang it.
I always thought that was going to work. No. Yeah, you actually have to do meaningful action in order to become
And
more
I
free in
ate
your
that
life.
rabbit for nothing. Interestingly enough, the superstition behind rabbit's foot,
Mm-hmm.
the way a rabbit's foot was imbued with luck is that it was severed from a rabbit in a cemetery, holy ground,
Wow. Okay.
on a full moon by a black shaman or witch.
All right. So
Today I learned.
Today I learned. Boop, 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 boop. The more you know. Yeah. All right. Well.
Well, it didn't have the shaman didn't have to be black, but it was more powerful.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
that was the actual superstition.
Today I also learned.
And it goes back to the familiar animal thing. You know what I'm talking about? Witches were thought to have familiars. Commonly, black cats were thought to be familiars, but also rabbits were also highly
Okay. I think I think
popular
what you're
for that, and that's where the luck came from. Was that
talking
it was assumed that the rabbit was a familiar.
Because witches are evil, but if you do certain things, stuff they make can be good luck for you.
Yes.
As long as you make a rabbit's foot as a witch, you will not be put thrown into the Inquisition, right? Is that how that worked? Make rabbit's foot to get out of that.
Anyway, enough of that tangent. Number 10.
Number 10.
Your present condition of freedom is probably far from optimum, from your most desired range of actions and for your present resources. Your approach to this optimum must be discovered by careful planning and investigation. You do not have automatic knowledge of this subject, and living your life like the general populace will get you what they get.
If you're doing the same
I mean-
thing everybody else is doing every day,
If you act like a slave, you're going to be a slave.
yeah,
Exactly. That sums it up pretty well.
And normal people are stupid. You need to educate yourself. I think I just completely
yeah.
nailed this point right
You
there.
know, it doesn't matter whatever beautiful and wonderful ideas you may have about a peaceful society or, or at least a more cohesive society. That doesn't matter if it's all in your head if you never actually do anything about it. It's, if you just sit there and, file your income taxes, get all your registration, permits, all that sort of stuff. If you continue to do all that exactly like that and still have all these thoughts about how you want it to be, in a voluntary society, it doesn't change anything because you haven't actually done anything. So, again, pretty obvious exactly what Steve said. It's duh. Durhay might be a better one.
To summarize your notes here, yes.
I thought the notes did it pretty well there. Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 11. We're moving pretty good on this one.
Fair enough.
A state and its agencies will never proclaim themselves abolished, oft impotent, or irrelevant. I think this is actually a really good point. We think there's often the idea that if we just get rid of the state, everything will be fine. I think he mentions in the preface of the 17 that he believed at one time that if we could just get rid of government, everything, it would be roses and unicorns frolicking in the field with a rainbow. But that's not the case. Fact is, and history shows that you get rid of one government and another one's going to come in its place unless we do something. You know what I mean?
It's a very good point.
And when the government falls is not the time to start doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's something I guess isn't talked enough about. Yeah. That they're never going to say, oh, I guess we lost. Let's go back home, go do some gardening. No, they're always going to say along the line, like, oh, we're still relevant. It's a patriotic thing to listen to us no matter what happens. to not go off too much on a tangent, but to relate it to a society that was going, or not a society, a government that was going down that slope to being irrelevant. While the Roman Empire was collapsing, the currency was getting destroyed because they just kept filling the silver coins with more and more copper.
Right.
And then the Emperor Diocletian put out an edict that said, more or less, if you don't use the currency, you're being unpatriotic. And that was 2,000 years ago. They've been playing this game a whole long time, just trying to, more propaganda to try to cover, paper mache over it, So.
Yeah. And what I think is telling about this too, I mean, in the whole voting argument, I don't vote personally. But there seems to be an idea that if we can just get everybody to stop voting, that the government will just disappear. Not gonna happen. If there is 0 people that show up on voting day, the government's just gonna keep on going.
They don't even have a majority voting, which is kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
They claim a majority want this. So Dagger decided she wanted to be in the podcast. Thought she'd turn the audio off just to make us point out that she's in it. She wasn't introduced, but this is Dagger right here. Anyway. So the fact that not even a majority of people vote is something that is... You can just laugh at the state saying they have a majority of people want this, when really it's not even a majority. They don't have even an average of 33% or some odd number, so it's laughable.
And they'll vote for themselves too, right? You'll have 535 people voting for president, and that's all that matters because there's 535 people. They'll still use that. But yeah, sorry, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Clinton first got elected in school, my math teacher decided that we were going to work out the numbers. It came out to 11% voted for Clinton.
Wow.
And 11% of the total population. And I don't think it's gotten better.
It probably hasn't, yeah.
I remember similar numbers when I worked out the math. I can't remember which election it was, but it's laughable to say that they have a majority saying this is what they want. And even if it was a majority, that doesn't mean a damn thing.
Yeah, just because the majority says something is true, obviously does not make it by default correct, So.
Yeah, so anyway, moving on. There are not pigs everywhere, and there are at very few places at the time. At all time. Very few places all the time. This one, I had to read over and over again because I think there's something wrong grammatically or something here. It just didn't sound right. Pigs, obviously, they mean cops.
Or feds, or some sort of, somebody who might show up at your house with a gun, I think is the general term, right?
Yeah. Basically, what I think he's saying here is that you don't need to fear the cops. The cops can't be everywhere at once.
Accurate. As much as the NSA is recording every single phone call in the United States, that doesn't mean that they have the ability to listen in on every single phone call and know what everybody's talking about all the time and follow your every move. Everyone. I'm sure there's some people they are following all day, but that doesn't mean that's everyone. So,
and they've certainly cracked down a lot since the 70s, but I still think that this is true. You can get away with a lot of illegal activity.
Quite a bit. Without, them, all of a sudden on your doorstep the next day. Like the whole entire...
It's not like in the movies. Have you guys ever seen that movie... Last Action Hero?
Oh God, decades ago.
Yeah. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
It was about a boy who got a magic ticket that would allow him to go into movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's about all I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this part, and I thought it was hilarious, and I to this day think it's hilarious. The bad guy from the movie comes out of the movie. And is in real life now.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to track him down and get him back in the movie, blah, blah, blah.
Does he have an eye patch, or is he a mad scientist? or
Close.
Okay.
But what's funny is, in movies, what I was pointing out is in movies, somebody gets murdered and the cops are there within minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he comes out of the movies and he's on the streets of New York and he just shoots some guy indiscriminately.
Right.
And he stands there and he's looking around, no cops from anywhere. And then he starts yelling, "I just killed the man, and I did it on purpose." And you hear a guy in the background going, "Shut up!"
Oh, God. But yeah, I mean, that is an accurate representation of the way the world works. There's that, I like to call it, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to say it exactly like this, but it's the myth of security. There's really, I don't care what kind of security system you have, there's always a way around it if somebody really, really wanted to get into your house or your business or whatever. Most of them aren't really. All it is just a really loud noise and flashing lights. And if you really knew what you're going to go get, if you're going to go rob a place, you go in there, you get it, you'd be out. They're not going to find you. The cops will show up, they'll turn off the alarm system, file a report, and say, "We're so sorry." Talk to your insurance company. That's about it. Yeah.
For the record, we're not advocating that anybody go out and murder somebody just because they can get away with it.
Or rob a business, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's immoral
Obviously,
anyway.
we believe in private property and the non-aggression principle. So yeah.
Just pointing out the cops that can't be everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember actually, this is a true story. My buddy had his bike stolen.
Right.
He was a mountain biker.
Mm-hmm.
Got his bike. Excuse me. Got his bike stolen. Called the cops. Cops took the report. Didn't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He then did some investigative work. Found his bike. Told the cops where his bike was. They still did nothing.
Oh,
He then
damn.
went to the guy, talked to him, got his bike back, all on his own. Cops did nothing. So, I mean, just goes to show you that even in legitimate cases where you've been robbed, you're better off going it alone anyway.
Yeah, I mean, cops are lazy. I mean, that's the whole like hero worship thing when they're like, oh, they're out there protecting and serving and all this sort of stuff. It's like, do you ever really sat there and watched what cops do all day? Like, 9 times out of 10, you see a cop in his cop car. He's not checking to see if anybody's speeding. He is on Facebook, on his cell phone. They're not really...
Solitaire.
Or solitaire or something. They're just hanging out,
So, number 13.
Lucky number 13.
Yes.
Sorry, Steve. Stole the words out of your mouth. All right.
Okay. When the state claims to control... What the state claims to control is not the same as what it does control. You will have to investigate and decide for yourself. This is a corollary of 11 and 12. I feel like they're all corollaries of all the other ones. But,
Fair. It is getting very, very repetitive, but yeah, they claim to control just about everything, and so we've got a handle on this. Don't worry, we care about you. You're our citizens. We're going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. I mean, where could we start on that? Everything from the FDA. Don't worry, your food's safe. Hey, isn't it that every single medication that's ever been recalled was already approved by the FDA? That's weird, huh? And then...
as a matter of fact, more deaths have been caused by FDA-approved drugs than illicit drugs.
Fair enough. Yeah, there you go. And then, there's E. coli outbreak, and then there's the comical thing that always seems to happen. They're like, oh, it was the spinach. No, not the spinach. Sorry, we were wrong that one time. Turns out it was the tomatoes. Wait, no, it wasn't the tomatoes. Cilantro. We're positive this time it was the cilantro. I remember that happening a couple years back. Big E. coli outbreak. They said it was like 5 different vegetables before they finally figured it out.
And wasn't it the state of Indiana or something that decided that they were going to change pi to 3.14?
Wow, that's...
It was a while back, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't recent. That was like, I don't remember exactly when.
I think it was like in the 90s or something like that.
We're going to round it down to 3.14.
Yeah. Officially,
we have done it. It's like there's a law.
We're going to change the law of gravity.
Yeah. There's a law in California.
We're going to
that
amend
says,
it with legislative action.
and make it so because we did.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so The state will not become impotent in a geographical area at the same time. Oh, I'm sorry. The state will not become impotent in all geographical areas at the same time. So, so basically move to the freest place if you want to be free.
Yeah, I mean that's
or take the same actions that the freest place is taking, right?
Yeah. That's a good idea too.
What do you mean by that?
So if one community has figured out how to live without the state, then follow their lead and do the same thing. Whatever they are doing to make it so that the state is irrelevant.
What's a community, Matt?
A group of individuals, people working together for their own means. Yeah.
Well, but I think the reason those places are free and other places aren't is not necessarily because...
It's their actions, though, right?
Well, on an individual level, yeah. But I think with a large population, you're not going to get a large population to all suddenly stop being
I think if you
slaves.
have the right ideas, then you can get those ideas being passed on.
I kind of feel like that was the problem when we decided to run a mayoral candidate.
Yeah. So I think that the main thing you want is ideas that work. And once you have those ideas that work without government, then people are going to say, hey, look, this idea works. You don't need force. That's optimal. I think that if you have those ideas, then people are going to follow them. And on their own free will, because they're good ideas, because they work. It doesn't require force.
I think there's plenty of history to say that people are stupid and will follow what they're told because they've been trained from birth basically to do what they're told.
But if you show them that it works and they don't need to use force, and force takes more action, I'd say
people aren't rational though. People are emotional creatures. I mean, people can be rational,
but I think just showing,
by and large, studies have been done that show that the more rational, logical information, irrefutable information you give them to the contrary of their current idea, the more firmly they believe in their current idea.
That sometimes people want to believe what they want to believe, but perhaps the long or the short of this statement is, if you want to be freer and you don't want to be around a whole bunch of cops, if you move out to the boonies, guess what? There aren't any cops out there. As a matter of fact, there are so few cops out there that if a cop is coming up the road, your neighbor will call you, who lives 3 miles down the road, and will say, hey, there's a cop coming up the road, just so you know. You know?
I will agree, though, that it's easier.
Yeah.
I think it's easier just to move. But then but then even if everybody who thought that way moved to a certain geographical location, you're still going to have everybody else outside of there disagreeing with you, and you're still going to have the same problem. So I think if you can explain to those people who do not have that idea that this way works better, and you actually don't have to use force to do so, and it's more efficient, and if you say all these things, I think it'll help.
I think it's important to bring people into your community through education, through dialogue. But I think for your own personal freedom, it's best to move to a place where you can have greater freedom.
Now, if we're gonna have these communities that are that are really educated and centralized about what is the most logical thing to do to create a happier society, would there be sentient robots involved in this at all? And if there were to be sentient robots, would at any point in time involve robot sex?
Oh my days! Speaking of robot sex,
it looks like
time is up.
Time is up.
Damn it!
Next time, robot sex.
Robot sex, next episode.
Cheers.